Thank you. I'm Arnav, and thank you for having me today. I'm a product manager on Microsoft Teams for frontline workers. I'm specifically focused on deployment tools to accelerate the time to value for frontline workers. And to give you guys a little bit of context, on this next slide, you'll see if it switches. There we go. Yeah, so frontline workers make up 80% of the global workforce. So when I say frontline workers, I'm talking about, retail associates that you see at Target, Walmart, nurses, warehouse workers, flight attendants, baristas, and they're an underserved community. When we think about Microsoft Teams, we often think about, information workers, us on desks, attending calls and meetings, but frontline workers also have a desire or have a need to communicate, collaborate, and get things done just like us. And a lot of the features and capabilities that Teams has to offer is very transferable to frontline workers. And there are specific apps catered to frontline workers as well, such as Shifts, Walkie-Talkie, tasks, and these help enable productivity for frontline workers. So what I'd like to demo for you guys today is how, organizations can pilot Teams for their frontline workers. What we've seen for most successful organizations who have adopted Teams for their frontline organization, the one thing that's common across all these customers is that they start with a pilot. They start with a small subset of their frontline workers, and pilots are very helpful because it allows customers to first, test and validate features, and then second, also make sure that Teams features actually address some of the frontline use cases and pain points. So this is a very important. And before we release this feature to, launch a pilot for your frontline workers in the Teams Admin Center. All the experiences to start and manage a pilot were really scattered and fragmented. I mean, you assign licenses on Mac, and then you come to the Teams Admin Center, and you try to assign licenses, assign app policies, and then you can also go to Teams itself to maybe start a team. So the pilot experience was not clear, and to manage a pilot, there was no experience at all. So we've brought all of that into one single experience where you can launch a pilot in just 2 minutes in the Teams Admin Center in the Frontline Hub, which is the screenshot you're seeing on the right and is also brand new since Ignite. It's under the Frontline Management tab in the Teams Admin Center, and you can see the first action that we recommend every new customer to do is start a pilot. As I mentioned before, this experience can be completed within just 2 minutes. So you just start by simply selecting your desired capabilities. You add a few members and owners, ideally frontline workers, and then it's as simple as just clicking deploy. And once you deploy your pilot, you can manage who's on that pilot. So you can manage membership. You can manage what channels should be part of the team for that pilot. You can manage app configurations for connections and communities for those users within the pilot, and also manage what pinned apps those users are going to see as well. And this is all in one single place in the Teams Admin Center. And in this fiscal, or rather in this semester, we will make it easy to extend your pilot or graduate your pilot to a full-scale deployment. So how can I test with maybe 20 users, but now scale this out to 10,000, 100,000 users in my organization? So with that, I'll get into the demo. And I've had technical difficulties trying to demo live on the Teams Admin Center, so I've recorded myself demoing it on the Teams Admin Center. So let me play this right here.
Hello. Today I'll be showcasing how simple it is to deploy a pilot for your frontline workers from our brand new Frontline Hub and the Teams Admin Center. Our new pilot deployment experience is your playground to test all the capabilities Teams has to offer, validate which features are most valuable to your frontline workers, and set yourself up for a successful org-wide rollout. To get started, make sure you're a Teams admin and navigate to the Frontline Hub under the Frontline Management tab in the Teams Admin Center. Here, I can see the suggested actions that are recommended to me. Underneath in the Overview section, I can see the number of licenses I've assigned and how many pilots and frontline teams I've deployed. I can kick off a new deployment by clicking Start a New Deployment on the top right corner, or by clicking one of the suggested actions here. To start a pilot, I will click on Start a Pilot from my suggested actions. Here, I can see all the capabilities that Teams has to offer. As part of every pilot, frontline workers will automatically have the ability to communicate with each other via chat and channels. To learn more about the other capabilities offered, I can click on each of the capabilities I'm interested here on the right-hand side. For this pilot, I will include chat, channels, shifts, planner, and Viva Engage. So I will uncheck connections and walkie-talkie. Now I will click Next. Here I will add frontline workers to my pilot by clicking Add Members and searching up users on this flyout. These users will be members of the pilot and will get the selected capabilities pinned to their app bar on the Teams app once the pilot is deployed. I will click Next to move to the next step. Here I can give my pilot a name and description. I will also add a frontline manager as an owner who will have the ability to add or remove members and add channels to this pilot. Once I'm ready, I'll click Deploy. And just like that, within 2 to 3 minutes, I've deployed a pilot. I can copy this link and share it with my pilot members and owners to install Teams to get started. I can now click on View Deployment Status or Check Deployment Status, where I can now see that my pilot deployment is in progress. Once your pilot deployment is complete, you can manage membership, channels, connections, Viva Engage, and pinned apps all in one single place for each of your pilots. To do this, visit the Pilots tab on the Manage Frontline Teams page in the Teams Admin Center. Since my current deployment is in progress, I'll select a pilot that I've already deployed to edit its configurations. On the Membership tab, I can add or remove members or owners in the pilot like so. Here, on the Channels tab, I can add standard channels to the pilot team like so. Let's say I want to add a stockroom channel for delivery and stock updates. On the Connections and Viva Engage tabs, I can access documentation to configure connections and Viva Engage respectively by clicking on either of these buttons. And on the Apps tab, I can add or remove an app and reorder the pinned apps like so. Can add connections back and simply click and drag to move it around. Can also use these buttons to move it accordingly. And once I'm ready, I can click Save. As I mentioned before, this is your playground to determine what configurations work best for your frontline workers. Continue to edit and make tweaks till you and your frontline workers feel you're making the most of what Microsoft Teams has to offer. Up next will be tools to help you understand how you can expand your pilot to a large-scale deployment. Thank you for listening.
Cool. So as you could see from that demo, We have a super simple pilot experience. As I mentioned before, it was very easy, 3 steps to deploy a pilot. And then everything you could imagine about managing a pilot is included in one single location, whereas in the past, all these things were scattered all in different places. So let me go to the next slide, which gives you guys some resources to get started. I'd encourage anyone who has a test, has some tenant, to try it out. You need to be a Teams admin, and you need to go to the Teams Admin Center, as I mentioned before. To access this, you can find all that information in our Learn Docs. We've also blogged about this around the November timeframe last year. So if you want to check that out, the blog is linked there. And the demo video is also posted on YouTube for anyone to access.